So if you're a follower of another YouTube channel called Tokyo Bottom, which, by the way, I accidentally ran into one of them during my trip to Bangkok, and oh my god! But anyways, if you watch their videos, you might have seen one where they talk about a certain event during White Party.
It's a tradition. Every white party gotta come to Sauna Mania. And why is that?
Because they have a foam party and the place is nasty and people are doing unspeakable.
Yeah, we kind of.
Their full video is in the description, so please go check them out if you haven't already. But basically, from the way they described this foam party, it sounded like something that I would, well...
The place is nasty.
It sounded like something I would enjoy. And when I came to Bangkok to visit during their Pride Week, I realized that Lord! They were having a foam party! Now, honestly, from the way they described it, it sounded like the White Party foam party was a bit more of a special event. Like, apparently they had like a full-on buffet in there, like actual food buffet, and they had like really great pad thai. So I didn't have expectations for this foam party to be like, you know, super crazy or like as special. Especially since after digging a little bit more, I realized that they actually seem to have like a foam party like every week, which made me feel like a little bit less excited, admittedly, because their White Party foam party sounds like an extravaganza. And here I am just going to like, you know, the regular one. Then again, it is Pride weekend, so maybe things could be crazy. But anyways, the point is I kept my expectations low. And my god. Now, there's no way I'm gonna be able to talk about everything like full cock, no condom without being severely demonetized. So please do me a favor and hit that like button, please. This video is gonna make no money. But anyways, it's okay. Let's just get started. So I'm not gonna talk or review the sauna itself. If you want a more in-depth review of Sauna Mania, you can check out this video right here. So otherwise, I'm just going to assume that you either saw that video or you've been to Sauna Mania before. So anyways, I came in on June 1st on a Sunday. This was after the Pride Parade, and I came in at around 6 p.m. Despite it being the foam party, I found it to be cheaper than the time when I was there during White Party. So the entrance fee was 500 baht, and I'm pretty sure during White Party, the entrance was 620 baht. Someone can double check me on that. I'm just pretty sure that was the price. But yeah, at 6 p.m. already, there was a crowd that was starting to form. People were like starting to conglomerate in that vicinity, which is, you know, good news. Because at that point, I spent nearly my entire trip getting blue-balled. And more on that in a future video. But basically, the point is, I was feeling very... A bitch was ready to be reduced, reused, and recycled, okay? Now, like I said, at around 6 p.m., there's a sizable crowd, and I feel like most of them were like Chinese, whether they be mainlanders or Malaysian Chinese or Taiwanese, I don't really know. The point is, there was a lot of Mandarin being spoken around. So yeah, I feel like the majority of people that were there, they were like ethnically Chinese or Thai, and then there were like sprinklings of literally everyone else. And a good chunk of them were pretty fit. And by fit, I don't mean like pure bodybuilder type or like, you know, super lean and super cut or anything like that. By fit, I basically mean they looked like they hit the gym, or at least looked like they made an effort to like, you know, take care of themselves. There's like a nice bit of size and they were bulging in the right areas, you know what I mean? Like pretty much a good 70 to 80% kind of fit that body type. Like, you know, they just looked like they worked out to some degree. But of course, you had your twinks, you had your more lanky bodies, you had your more everyday types of bodies. There's just so many people there, you had like a little bit of everything. Let me tell ya, walking into that dark room was an experience. Now, normally it takes me like a little while to like warm up. Like, despite going to like many saunas, I am still just a shy bitch, okay? Especially when they were like hot guys like walking around. A bitch gets nervous, okay? I'm just shy. But this time, pretty soon after I made it into the dark room, I found like this little pocket where there was like a lot of people crowding about and a lot of action happening. And I saw this really tall, beefy Chinese guy like deep inside that pocket, and I was like, oh, I want to take a closer look. So yeah, I kind of squeezed my way in there, leaning against the wall, and was just like watching him. He was getting sucked and fondled by different people, and I was craving some beef, you know? So yeah, I was like standing there, leaning against the wall, watching him, trying to build the courage to just, you know, kind of start going in there and just, you know, touching a little bit. And then we made eye contact. And to my surprise, it was actually him who grabbed me. He reached for my hand and then placed it on his chest. I started, you know, and to my surprise, the guy who was blowing the Chinese guy actually started going down on me. And it was very nice. It was very validating. And the whole time it was happening, I was still like, you know, playing with the Chinese guy. And at that point, another guy came and took the place of the original guy. So you know, we're both getting sucked off and enjoying each other's company. And then at some point, the guy who was sucking me off just somehow slid a condom onto me. And then I was being used like a wall dildo. Top era's back, baby! And obviously, while this is all happening, there was like a lot of people that were still like, you know, moving around. Some people stopped to watch. watch. Some people, came in to participate, touching us, groping us, all that kind of stuff. One of them was this Korean looking dude. Eventually the bottom pulled himself off of me, and then that's when the Korean guy, whispered into my ear asking me, if we wanted to go into the room together. To be honest, I kind of liked the beefy Chinese guy more, but he was still like preoccupied with other things. And plus, this is a Korean man. Allegedly. Do you know how fucking impossible it is to get a Korean man? I'll take what I can get. So I obviously said yes. Then we went into a private room. We had a nice business meeting. And then afterwards, I came out, gave myself a quick rinse before venturing out into the wilds again. I met with another guy, this time a Thai guy. And at this point, the sauna was really, really crowded. It was very lively, lots of guys roaming about. And as soon as I finished with the Thai guy, that's when this announcement came. Honestly, the announcement was kind of hard to hear. So I didn't realize what they were saying until I went up to the showers. And by chance, I noticed this horde of men trying to queue up to go into the balcony area. So after quickly rinsing myself off, I joined the herd and it was shuffled up the stairs. On the staircase, there's this guy who's standing there with a flashlight. He was there to remove the towels from you, and he was also checking for something. He kept moving the light around us. I think he was trying to make sure you weren't wearing slippers or something. I don't know. But yeah, you're going up completely nude, no towels to cover yourself. Anyways, like I said, the foam party was being held in the balcony area, and if you haven't seen it before, on a regular day, this place would have cages or bed frames with tarp mattresses on it, and then tarp mattresses at the very end scattered about. This time the setup was okay, there's this large platform in the middle, so people had to walk in a circle around it, and then at the end there's this other platform with a mattress on it, or a metal bed frame with a mattress on it, and then beyond that, and then on the side there were tarp mattresses that were just on the floor. So yeah, that was the setup. And honey, I wish I could show you pictures of what it was like, just so I can show you how crazy it was. Imagine a circuit party or any kind of rave or super packed event. Imagine that level of packedness, and then imagine in every direction you're looking, they be people fucking. They be on the walls, they be on the mattresses, they be on the platforms. It was a fuck fest galore. And not only that, but I think Sauna Mania also has their own staff, because just like with Club, I noticed that there were specific boys who were wearing glow sticks, either around their necks or on their wrists. And yeah, I was observing them. Specifically, I was watching this pair who were at the end, they were on the bed frame. There was one with a yellow glow stick and one with a blue glow stick. And yeah, they both have pretty thick donkers. The yellow one looked like he was more of a bottom though, he was getting railed. And the blue one definitely seems more like a top. I only ever saw him railing people. And yeah, like I said, I was watching them for a while. There would be people who would approach them, kind of start touching them. And then the glow stick boys would invite them up onto the bed frame, onto the mattress, and but I did notice that they didn't invite everyone or anyone. The blue glow stick guy did seem a bit more particular. So initially I watched him fuck two different guys. One of them was a bit more twinky and one of them was a bit more juicy. And then after he finished with the second guy, a third guy who was beefy and bearded and kind of hairy, that guy tried to approach the blue glow stick. He tried sucking his dick, trying to touch him a little bit more. But then the blue glow stick guy would kind of just move his dick away, and he kind of covered it up, trying to clean it up with a towel and that kind of stuff. It seemed like he was pretending to keep himself busy, or pretending he wasn't noticing the advances. It kind of was that energy. And initially I thought okay, maybe he was just tired because he just finished fucking two other guys, right? But like I said, I was standing there for a while, long enough such that I saw the third guy circle around and come back to the place 3 separate times, trying to get the blue glow stick guy. And each time he was kind of pushed away. Meanwhile, that yellow guy was letting anyone blow him. He was just an open platter. And sometimes there would be another guy with a glow stick who would lie down on the mattress with them. He had a black cap on, and he was just a whole ready to be abused. He was getting fucked relentlessly. All that to say, I think if you find a staff member who you're interested in, you have a pretty good chance with getting with them. But just be aware that's not a guaranteed thing. And also, it felt like the foam party only lasted for about an hour or so. So the amount of guys they can realistically fuck is quite limited. So you gotta, if you want one of them, you gotta be quick, be proactive. Now, just because trying to get with the glow stick boys might be a bit more of a challenge, that doesn't mean you won't be able to get any action. Because like I said, that room was packed! Honestly, just watching all of it was already super fun for me. There's barely any space to walk around, and while you're walking through the sides around that, big buffet table in the middle, you're constantly slipping and sliding against other people's bodies. Sometimes that's a lot of fun, especially when you get to brush up against this hot, thick-chested, buff, but nerdy looking guy. Yeah! But other times it can be quite uncomfortable. Because obviously some people who you may not be interested in will still touch you or try squeezing you or grabbing you, which is like, you know, normal. You gotta be prepared for that. Thankfully, I found that Sauna Mania's foam party was quite respectful. More respectful than some of the gay saunas here in Vietnam. Like in my time there, I found that there was only one guy in particular who was just particularly persistent, but he did eventually like let go after several instances of me of trying to move away from him. But in Vietnam, it is very common to just have like old uncles just suddenly hug you like full force in such a way where like they will not let go and you literally have to like fight and pry them off of you in order to free yourself. And I have no idea why they do that. It's just so uncomfortable. But anyways, all that to say, that isn't really a problem here in Sauna Mania during their foam party. It was more or less quite respectful and kind of receptive. Like there was a few instances when there was this really hot guy who like, you know, sorry. But yeah, sometimes even the really hot guys, like, you know, when you touch them, even if they aren't like interested in you, they'll still give you like, you know, a little tease and then they'll be like, okay, that's enough. And then they'll go away somewhere. But you know, it's like a little gift, a little bit of charity. I just appreciate the fact that, you know, the vibes were like a bit more open here, you know? For me, myself, I spent most of the time watching, but there were a few bottoms who approached me, who took an interest, and just like the beefy dudes who gave me some acts of charity, I provided some service for the community. After an hour, an announcement was made and then the lights just suddenly turn on and that's like the cue for everyone to like leave. There's this guy who was like hosing down everyone as people were like queuing up to go back down the stairs. And interestingly enough, I found that most of the people actually didn't go home immediately after the foam party. I did, bitch, because I was all fucked out. But, you know, on my way to the lockers, I noticed that there was still a lot of people who were like going back into the dark rooms for round 3 or whatever. And the dark rooms themselves were like still packed. Like there was a sizable chunk of people who were not attending the actual foam party. They were just cruising regularly. And as I was getting changed and making my way out of Sauna Mania, I noticed that the queue was still long as shit. There's still so many people queuing up to go into Sauna Mania after the foam party was over. And they were hot as well! Maybe kind of regret coming in so early. So yeah. Sauna Mania on their foam party days. People are hungry. It gets busy. So if you're someone who has a lot of stamina, I think Sauna Mania's foam party would be the perfect thing for you. The only thing that was like missing from the experience was the actual food buffet that Tokyo Bottom mentioned. Apparently they had really good pad thai at the white party foam party, which, you know, speaking of, if the foam party that I went to was just considered like the regular one, I cannot imagine just how fucking crazy the white party foam party would be. Like, holy shit, it's on my bucket list. I definitely gotta go now. Then again, maybe since I did go during the Pride weekend, maybe that did have an influence over the crowd. But I also don't think that like I don't think Pride is as popular of a time to come visit Bangkok as, you know, Songkran or white party. I could be wrong though. I'm just sharing what I know. So yeah, if your balls are feeling particularly heavy with testosterone, give Sauna Mania's foam party a try if you're in the area. I highly recommend it, especially if you're visiting Bangkok on a Sunday. Just check out on their Twitter page. If they post something about a foam party and you're in town, do your thing, girl. Go give it a try, okay? Let them know I sent ya. Like, holy shit, it was so crazy. I think that was like the craziest sexual experience I've ever had. And I've been to home pause. But in the end, I still prefer home pause over something like this just because I like the whole social aspect of it more. But anyways, that's another topic. But anyways, that's everything I had to say for this video. I got a whole slew of videos that I'm planning to make after coming back from Bangkok for their Pride. So if you're interested in hearing more about my experiences, feel free to subscribe. And I guess I'll just see you guys next time, okay? Thanks for hanging out with me again, and yeah, see you.